prior to moving to Ireland, I didn't even know of a country known as Ireland. So I knew about Ireland when I was in the flight moving to Ireland. I never heard of Ireland before coming in, but I knew there was a country that made Guinness, because back in Cameroon we usually call Guinness the Irish Guinness, and we usually call the potatoes that everyone called potatoes Irish potatoes. So back in Cameroon, that's what I knew of. Because prior to moving to Ireland, I was really young. I moved to Ireland like 13 years ago. So I've been in Ireland now for a long time. So prior to moving to Ireland, I was really young. I didn't know much about Ireland. Many people have been asking me to make a video about what it tastes like being black in Ireland or being foreign in Ireland. Not just being black actually, because there's a lot of foreigners in Ireland nowadays. When I moved to Ireland back in the days, there were barely black people in Ireland. I swear, like, it seems like it's been just a couple of years ago, but there were barely black people in Ireland. But I was fortunately enough to move in the black section of Ireland. I was living in Blanchardstown in Dublin back in the days, and that's where every single immigrant back in the days could move in. When you move to a new country, you always turn to live in the capital city because everything is favorable for you. So in the capital city, if you want to renew your passport, there's an embassy that you can do it. If you want to renew your visa, there's an embassy. So most people tend to live in capital city, and that's what my parents wanted us to do. So when I moved to Ireland, I was living in the capital of Ireland, which is Dublin. So yeah, I was in Dublin for a couple of years, and I was fortunate enough to live in the black section of Dublin. So there's this place known as Dublin 15, where most immigrants have a house there. It's just the demography of the place is favorable for like incoming people in Ireland, because first of all, you could find cheaper accommodation in Dublin 15 compared to different part of Dublin. So when I moved to Ireland, it was a no-brainer that I was meant to be living there with my family, because we could get cheaper accommodation there, we could get cheaper everything. And there's something in Ireland known as DESH school, DESH secondary school. That's for people that don't have enough money to take care of your kid. School is free anyways in Ireland, unless you want to put your kid in a private school, but secondary school and sometime university is free in Ireland. But there's something known as DESH school, that's someone with a less income. So if your family is earning lesser than most people in a normal school, you usually go to a DESH school, so you get everything subsidized there for you. So the textbooks are subsidized for you, everything else is subsidized for you if you go to a DESH school, which is where I went when I moved to Ireland. I was fortunate enough that there were a lot of black people, there were a lot of foreigners when I lived, but for the past coming years, just mingling with a lot of people that moved to Ireland at the same time, but they didn't move to Dublin, they moved to like Limerick, they moved to like Carlow, Sligo. It wasn't the same. There were barely any black people in all this countryside back in the days. I know in Sligo and all of these places, you could barely see a black person back in the days in any school. So every single school had like a one black person or a one foreigner, like a one Chinese person, one Indian person. But nowadays, Ireland is a multicultural country, and there's a lot of people that immigrated in Ireland. So being black or foreign in Ireland, I will categorize it into like 4 different categories. First, for example, I will talk about jobs, what it is like getting a job being black and foreign in Ireland, what it is like getting a house being black and foreign in Ireland, what it is like just mingling with other people or other Irish people being black in Ireland. So first of all, I've been getting a lot of questions about being black and getting a job in Ireland, and to be sincere, I'm not going to lie, because I'm doing a video and most of the people that watch my videos, they are not black. So I'm not just going to lie just to make or to please anyone in this video. Getting a job when you're not black is extremely hard. You need to be 10 times better than anyone else when it comes to the interviews, when it comes to the jobs, when it comes to the skills, when it comes to everything else. I remember doing my first interview when I finished my university education, and I was asked for references, like all type of references. I was asked for references even in Cameroon, even though I left Cameroon when I was young. I wasn't even working back in Cameroon. So they asked for like a lot of different references, which I couldn't even provide. But I did give some of the references back home and some numbers which they actually called to see if I was lying or not. Strangely enough, I didn't even think they were going to do that. And in Ireland, I gave references of like previous job for the past 5 to 10 years that I've been in Ireland, all those like side hustles that I was doing, and they contacted all these people looking if I was lying or saying the truth. When I got the job at the end of the day, and I was working with some people that recently got a job and they went through the same interview process. And I was speaking to one of the girls, then I'm like, oh yeah, did you actually do all of this? And the girl said, yeah, she did all of what I did, but surprisingly, all of her references wasn't checked because she was 100% Irish. I don't know if it's just because she was 100% Irish or it was easier for them to know she's not lying or not, but that's just what happened. And that wasn't the first time. When I got the next job, it was the same. And like all of the jobs that I've had, they've been extra. I got a job before the job that I'm presently working in, and I was kept on the waiting list for like 9 months, and they were just checking my references, checking my medical tests, checking a lot of stuff that most people don't even get to do it. And sometimes you have to do more than one interview. You can do like even 5 interviews. Some people don't have to do all of that. And sometimes you have to know someone that works in that company for them to like go to the person. Like, let's say if there's any black person working in that company, they can go to the black person and ask if the person knows you. As I said, there's not a lot of black people in Ireland, so most of the time we kind of know every single one. Like technically in Ireland, like I live in Cork at the moment, and I know maybe 90% of the black people that live in Cork. So it's usually like that when you're getting a job. And when you get a job in the first place, you make sure that you keep a good reputation, because that will affect the people that are coming after you. Because I remember I used to work in Sligo, a countryside as well, that were barely any black. I was the only black person in a company of 400 people. I did an internship and I got kept on to do an extra 9 months. So at the end of which, I went to see the HR because I wanted to like continue my career in that company. And the HR was actually impressed with me because he literally said this to me word by word: we've never got a black person in this company because of all of the stuff we've been hearing about, of all of, black people are known to be fighting, they're always like quarreling, they speak louder. There's a lot of issues when it comes to being black anyways. So your man actually said to me that all of these factors made us to like be hesitant to employ someone of your color. But sometimes due to insurance reason, they have to get at least one foreign person just for your insurance reason. So yeah, he was literally frank to me and told me that just the way you've been working here, you've been like really good to everyone. Everyone loves you. Like I was literally really loved there because I did my job and I was always giving a helping hand for anyone that needed it. So at the end of the internship, he actually said they're willing now to open more doors for people of my color. So yeah, since then, when I'm employed in any place in Ireland, because we're kind of like the first generations of people in Ireland, I always make sure I do the best. I always make sure I keep my highest reputation. The second one is getting a house being black in Ireland. That's a big hustle. At the moment, I live with my partner. I'm a dad of a lovely girl, and I live with my Irish girlfriend. Yeah, she's white and she's Irish. So I remember when we were getting a house, I used to do all of the like talking. I used to call the house because I'm the one that earned the income in the family. So I used to call these houses and stuff. And most of the time when they know it's a black person that's ringing to get a house, they will either tell you that the house has been taken, or maybe they might increase the price because they know you can't afford it in the first place. But in my situation, I could afford the house, but I was never getting it. So it was just so hard to get a house when you're not Irish, especially nowadays with like housing crisis in Ireland. So it's extremely harder if you're like a black person looking for a house because of maybe the reputation that previous black people did. Most of the houses, when people live in the houses, they don't take the houses. I don't know how to explain. Black people usually don't like fix the houses as the landlord wants. They don't buy new furniture, they don't paint, they don't do all of this work that the landlord would actually want someone else or want an Irish person to do. Because Irish people, when they get a house, they usually stay in the house for the rest of their life. So they take the house as their home. But most foreigners, they're probably in Ireland for a couple of years, then move to a different country. So they don't usually take their house like their home. So landlords are kind of skeptical to give people houses if they're not Irish or if they're not white, kind of. So that's my experience. I'm not talking for everyone else, I'm talking for myself because that's what happened to me. And the third one is racism. I know most people want to know, most people will be like, oh yeah, you kind of skipping, you don't want to talk about racism in Ireland and all of that. But what I'm going to say is that there's racism everywhere. There's racism in Cameroon, where I'm coming from. Black people are racist to white people, and white people are racist to black people. So it's not a new stuff, and I don't think racism is ever going to end. You just have to live with it. So I'm not going to lie and be like, I've never been racist upon, or I've never been like, that's just, I'm not going to lie on the video and said no. Racism do exist in Ireland, and it exists everywhere else. I've been hate upon before. Like, I've gotten racist comments. I was working one of my first part-time job. I was working in the shop known as Central, and just like someone just walked in one day, and like the lady was actually bad because she shoplifted before, so that's like stealing something in the shop. Then I was the one on the counter when the supervisor sent her out. Then she just started shouting, "You fucking black fella, I know you're the one that like told the supervisor to kick me out," but I didn't know nothing at all. I was just like, I never opened my mouth. I don't even know what happened. So yeah, but that's life. Like, you get stuff like this, and for me, I'm a happy person. Like, I don't care if someone says something like that. Some people get offended when you call them black, or some black people actually, yeah, they get offended when you call them black, or when you call them nigger and all those words. But it doesn't, I don't care. If you want to call me black, I'm black. If you want to call me whatever color you want to call me, I am. So many people will tell you different stuff, like they will explain racism differently from the way I'm going to explain to you. But me, normally, when I first moved in Ireland back in the days, they were like kind of like fishy, like, cause obviously people haven't seen black people that much. So one of my secondary school teacher actually said to me that, "Michael, do you know that if you came to Ireland back in 2005, like everyone would have been looking, I don't know, everyone would have been looking at you funny, because back then there wasn't even like, you could count how many black people live in the island of Ireland. Like, there was countable black people. So nowadays, like, everyone knows there's like black footballer. A friend of mine plays in the Irish team. A friend of mine, there are black managers nowadays, but that wasn't the case back in the days. There were black people. Obviously, racism in Ireland is like kind of more than compared to different countries. Why? Because if you go to England, if you go to France and all of those countries, you will see there's been a culture of like immigrant. There's been culture of different nation immigrating in those countries like ages ago compared to Ireland. Ireland is just in the past 15 to 20 years that there have been black people in Ireland. But in England, you can see someone that was born in England and is 50 years old and is black. You can't see that in Ireland. You can see someone that was born in France and it's like maybe like 80 to 100 years old, and the person is black, is Asian or Chinese or whatever, but you can't see that in Ireland. So you have to put all of this into consideration when you're talking about black and racism in Ireland. And the final one, being black in Ireland and being Irish. That's black and Irish. Yeah, I've been Irish for the past, I think, 10 years now, I think. But I've been living in Ireland for 14 years. So the past maybe 4 years of my life, I was just Cameroon. I had my Cameroonian passport. But for the past 10 years, I had my Irish passport. So yeah, there are a lot of stuff as well that when you try to explain, most white people don't, or most Irish people don't travel. I can see, yeah, some of them, the younger generation of nowadays travel this much, but they didn't travel that much before. So I remember having my first white Irish girlfriend, and I went to visit them, and the dad was like, "Oh yeah," and like just the kind of questions I was asking me, like what are you planning to do with my daughter? What are your aims with my daughter? I know, like, being a dad in the first place, you have to ask those type of questions, but it was just kind of technical, the kind of questions that your mom was asking me. All this like fishy, silly, phony questions, if I could say. Yeah, some questions that I was just answering because I knew it was like, so are you planning to like live in Ireland for the rest of your life? Are you planning to, I don't know, because sometimes when you go out with people that are in African while living in Ireland, most people think you're living with most people think you're going out with those girls just because you want like papers. For example, you know, most people immigrated out of Africa and all these countries without papers. So when you're living or when you're dating a white person or an Irish person, most of the time your friends, you're always thinking of, oh yeah, are you with this person just because you want a paper? Are you with this person just because you want the Irish passport? Are you with this person because you want all of this? No, for me, I'm dating my partner is Irish, 100% Irish. She's white. I have a baby with her, but even before being with her, I had my Irish passport, I had everything, I had my job, I had everything. So sometimes it's kind of tricky to explain to people that you can just love someone, like there's no background situation beside it. You can just fall in love with someone. It doesn't matter if the person is black, or it doesn't matter if the person is white. So when it comes to relationship being black, there's all these background issues that I'm talking about. Just it's still kind of technical being in a relationship with an Irish person being black, because there's like all these issues of like, oh yeah, is she with you just because you have a big, you know what I mean, you have a big stuff, or is she with you just because she want to have like a mixed race case? That's what most people are thinking about me and my girlfriend, that was I with her just because I don't know, I wanted to have papers, and was she with me just because she wanted to have mixed race, or she wanted to like be with a black man with like big, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, it's not that. Like, you see people, you fall in love, and if it works, it works. Sometimes you're just like, what's all this? Is this just because I'm black or what? So I can't just love someone because I love someone? Or why do you have to always think there's something? Why can't I have a relationship with a white person just because it's a relationship? Yeah, that's just what I wanted to say. For anyone thinking of moving to Ireland and just want to know how it is nowadays, is the like literally the best time to move in Ireland, because now there's like a lot of foreign people in Ireland, there's a lot of black people, there's a lot of mixed case, there's like the integration is way beyond compared to back in the days when I first moved. That's all what I had today to talk about. So thanks, and please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and see you next time.